Okay, so today we are going to be talking about a type of book that I don't think receives anywhere near as much attention as it should on BookTube. Today we are going to be talking about novellas. Now, in case you don't know, a novella is a book that is 199 pages or less. Once we get to the 200-page threshold, we start talking about tomes. 250 pages is a half tome, 500 pages is a tome, 750 pages is a tome and a half, and 1000 pages is a double tome. But not a lot of people talk about the short books, the books that are less than 200 pages, and there are so many good reasons why novellas are really good options for authors, whether you are a well-known, critically acclaimed author to publishing your first one, or you're deciding to write a book and maybe you should write a novella as your very first one. Novellas are a lot of fun, and today we are going to talk about what really makes novellas stand out compared to your half tomes, your tomes and a half, and your double tomes. So let's get right to it. So I want to start off by talking about the benefits of novellas on their own, and then we'll go into other details. The first benefit is that because a novella is so short, the author has no choice but to get right into the crux of whatever it is that is going on. If you are, for example, writing a fantasy novella, we really don't have a lot of time to get into the backstory or to really get to know the characters. We need to get into that action side of the fantasy right away because of the limited page count. What about a horror? A horror novella has to get into the horror elements right away because of the limited page count. And this can be a really good thing. If you are a reader who really wants to experience a certain type of genre or age range of a book, but you don't really want to commit yourself to a book that's, say, 500 pages or 700 pages long, a novella is a great way to just dive right into the deep end and see what it's all about. Recently, I read a novella, and I don't have it on me here because it's very hard to get a copy of this book, but I read it as an audiobook. It is called Cenote. This book revolves around a couple that falls into a cenote and are trying to escape. It is incredibly horrific, and I loved every single moment of it. But what I loved most about it was the fact that it was a novella meant that Sean Horton had to get right into the horrific details. Granted, Sean Horton spends about a chapter getting us ready for what is going to happen, and then those horrific elements do start playing out, and whoa, were they amazing. Another thing that I really loved about Cenote is the fast pace of the book. We had no time to really expand on the world or to have lulls in the book. We had to go at a really fast pace because we are limited with the amount of information that can be put in there. Vampire Kisses by Ellen Schreiber. So this is a gothic paranormal novella. All of the books from this series, these are the other books that I have in that series, and they look just as short. So what I love about this book is that the premise of this book is that it follows a girl whose name is Raven, who is a high schooler, and one day her teacher is asking everyone in the class what they want to be when they grow up, and when they get to Raven, she shocks everyone by telling them that she wants to be a vampire, and she aspires to receive a kiss from a vampire. About a day or so later, a family moves into the gothic mansion next door, and she starts dating the boy who lives next door, and she's trying to determine whether or not he is a vampire. Again, what I love about this novella is that the pacing had to be really quick, and the author had to fit in everything within this limited amount of page count. This is like 192 pages long, and yet we had an epic story. No lulls at all throughout the book. It was just a really fun read. Sometimes tomes can be a little bit disappointing, and one example of that is This Is How You Lose the Time War. I read this book very recently for the Murphy Napier Buddy Read Book Club of the month, and I did not necessarily enjoy this book, but a good thing about it being a novella was that I only had to read 198 pages and then the book was over. So that is, I think, another great advantage of novellas is if you're just wanting to dip your toe into reading in general, or reading a certain type of genre that you've never read before, with a novella, you're reading less than 200 pages, so, you know, it makes the reading experience a lot quicker to get through. So now I want to talk to you about two books that I felt would have been a lot better had they been written as novellas. The first book I'm going to talk to you about might surprise you a little bit because it is an author that I love, who has his very own shelf and is the only author in this room that does, Brandon Sanderson, more specifically with his second book in the Skyward series, Star Sight. I loved book number 1, Skyward. This is book number 2, and I didn't mind this book. I thought it was pretty good, but the problem with this book is that there were a ton of lulls and downtime and boring moments that just weren't getting to me at all, but I did think that the beginning was pretty good, and I thought that the end was pretty good too. So if we took out the second and the third quarter from this book and made it a 198-page novella, I probably would have given this book 5 stars, but the fact that it was such an incredibly long book is what led to it receiving a much lower rating from me, and so I do strongly feel that this book would have been much better off as a novella. Now, Brandon Sanderson is not known for writing short books. In fact, I've said many times here on my channel that the name Brandon Sanderson is synonymous with the word tome or double tome. I mean, the shortest book that I own that is a Brandon Sanderson book is this book, The Alloy of Law, 325 pages long. That's the shortest book that he owns, and it does not qualify as a novella because it is 126 pages over being a novella. But I just feel that Starsight definitely would have benefited from being a novella. I feel most of the time with his young adult works that they don't need to be as long as they are. I feel like he can always cut them down, and even if I'm giving them 5 stars, I feel like he could easily have cut down the page count. Making them novellas could be another way to go. The next book I want to talk to you guys about when it comes to novellas is this book, Veronica Roth's Chosen One. So I loved the way that the book opened up. Unlike your usual superhero story, this book opens up with 5 characters who have been chosen to defeat an evil guy. However, they've already defeated the evil guy before the book begins. So the book opens up with these superheroes living their normal, average, day-to-day lives. And I really appreciated that it went so against the norm. All of those cliched, heavily used tropes in superhero books aren't here in the beginning of this book, and it was just really a lot of fun to walk alongside these characters as they go through experiencing the aftermath of having killed this bad guy prior to the book even beginning. However, 2/4 of the way through this book, our superheroes do end up having to battle another bad guy, and we do go through all those cliche tropes of the superhero books, and that really did let me down. Had Veronica Roth cut out quarters 2 and 3, it would have made this book a novella. I most likely would have given it 5 stars. It's not necessarily a bad idea to do a novella to begin your series. Novellas are a great beginner in that it will give your readers time to explore the characters before jumping into a much bigger 400+ page book. All Systems Red by Martha Wells. So this is a book that follows a robot by the name of Murderbot who has been designed to murder people, but all he cares about is his soap operas. The reason, apparently, why Martha Wells wrote this first novella for the series was so that people could get to know Murderbot and again to fall in love with Murderbot without any of the usual stuff that's going to go on in the series. I think this is a really wonderful formula. The idea of this is really amazing, and it's something that I would definitely recommend to a ton of authors. Start off your series with a short 199 pages or less book that introduces everyone to the world or introduces everyone to the characters, so that by the time that they get to book 2, they are ready for it because they've been given this short little snippet of the world. I also think it's a great way to advertise the series to your readers. I mean, they may walk away from the book really eagerly anticipating the first book now that we know the world, now that we know the characters, or they may have dipped their toe into this first book, into the novella, and not want to continue on with the series, but at the same time, you also might be hooking in readers who don't necessarily read the genre or the niche type books or worlds or genres that you write, because of the fact that it is a short read. So I think there's so many good reasons and so many advantages as to writing novellas as opposed to writing massive books, especially if you're going to have a long, let's put a picture up there of the Wheel of Time series that I ended up DNFing during book 1 because I just did not enjoy book 1 personally. But the Wheel of Time is about 14 books long. So, I mean, if you can release a 14 book series, for me, it's more of a personal preference. Some people are going to love every single page of every book that he writes, and some people will be turned off because of those lulls. I just think, especially if you're going to be a niche author, anyone who is writing a category that is a niche category, such as high fantasy with hard magic systems, is very niche. Such as low fantasy is a niche audience as well. Dystopians is a niche audience as well. Then a great way to invest readers into your series is to open up with a novella that introduces them to, as I've already said, the world, the characters, the culture, whatever it is that sets up your series. I think it'd be a great idea for anyone and everyone to go through. But these are my thoughts on the wonderful books that are novellas. What do you think of novellas? Have you read any novellas this year, and were you fans of them? Were you not? What advantages do you see when it comes to the novella style of a book compared to your tomes or half tomes? Let me know in the comment section below. But in the meantime, this is where I'm going to leave it. I think we've gone on long enough. Letting you guys go. Peace, blessings, and so much love. I post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, all those notifications, all those good things, and I'll see you again very soon. Mwah. Thank you so much for watching, and happy reading! Bye guys! Bye!